Okay, so you're listening to this because you want to build a high-income business as we head into 2025, right?
Bet.
Whether you're already running a small business, maybe you're freelancing, maybe you're heading up a new venture, or even if you're looking to be innovative inside a larger company.
Yeah.
What we're diving into today is about getting you real strategies that you can use,
Absolutely.
not just sort of abstract ideas.
Right.
So for this deep dive, we've actually gone through a ton of information from my own notes about how to create AI automation agencies,
Okay.
to proven high-income business models, to the challenges and opportunities that are sort of, out there right now,
Right.
to insights from entrepreneurs who've been there, done that,
Yeah.
to the first steps you need to take to actually get something off the ground,
Right.
how to fund your growth,
Yeah.
who to bring onto your team,
Okay.
the tools that you should be thinking about using the scaling missteps to avoid,
Right.
how to hit that $10 million mark, concrete examples of what's working.
Yeah.
Right now, how to validate if your idea actually is going to be something, the skills that you should be developing,
Right.
realistic costs and timelines,
Okay.
niche opportunities that a lot of people overlook,
Yeah.
the keys to success with different approaches,
Right.
and a breakdown of 8 high-income business models that are showing a lot of promise as we go into the next couple of years.
Yeah. I think that's one thing people don't do enough of is really looking at what are those models out there that are working
Yeah.
and that are scalable.
Yeah.
And so our goal in this deep dive is to try and give you those.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear what you've come across.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, just to set the stage, our goal is really to give you clear, understandable strategies,
Right.
things you can actually take action on immediately.
Love it. Actionable.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
I think some of these models, they really have the potential for some significant growth.
Oh, yeah.
But that hinges on you being very focused, really honing in on what it is you want to do and executing effectively.
Well, and I think, too, like the world is changing so fast. And I think you even said this at the beginning, 2025 is just around the corner.
Yeah.
And so being able to learn and adapt is like the #1 skill
Yeah.
that you can have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that's that's a big part of what we're trying to do here is we're going to essentially give you a shortcut.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to take all of this information from a lot of different sources, a lot of different perspectives,
Yeah.
and boil it down to the things that you can use right now.
Love it.
So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
When you look at the business landscape,
Yeah.
for 2025, what are the models that really stand out to you as having that, high income potential?
So one model that I think is really strong and poised to just absolutely erupt in 2025 is the AI automation agency.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this is just look at the data. 93% of U.S. businesses haven't even implemented AI yet.
93%. Wow, that's a huge number.
That's not just a market gap. That is a massive opportunity.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about this right now is that there is a massive awareness gap.
Yeah.
Businesses know they should be using AI,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to.
Right.
And so what makes AI automation agencies so powerful is they come in and they bridge that gap.
So what is it specifically about the AI automation agency that makes it such a winner in this environment?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, the margins in this space are ridiculously good.
Okay.
Like we're talking 70 to 80% gross margins,
Yeah.
which gives you a lot of room to grow and reinvest in the business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Second thing is there's a clear and immediate need. Right.
Yeah.
Especially small and medium-sized businesses, they know AI is powerful,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to actually implement it.
Right.
And this is where the AI automation agency comes in.
Yeah, so knowing that AI is powerful is one thing,
Right.
but actually applying it to your business is quite another.
It's a whole different ballgame. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with the AI automation agency, what you're really doing is you're helping the business understand how AI can improve cash flow,
Okay.
because that's the language businesses speak.
Okay.
Right? It's not about, oh, let's be cool and do AI for AI's sake.
Right.
It's like, how can I help you make more money? How can I help you save more money? And that's what automation is so good for.
Okay.
The third thing that makes these agencies so powerful is there's this huge opportunity for partnerships.
Okay.
Because you can leverage other people's networks to get in front of the right clients.
Yeah.
And then the fourth thing, and maybe this is the most important, is that when you build a business around AI, you are fundamentally building a business on a technology trend that is not going away.
Yeah, you're building on the future, basically.
Yeah, are building on the future, yeah.
Okay.
And so that gives you a massive advantage.
So AI automation agency, it sounds like it's, in a prime position.
Yeah.
How does that compare to some of these other high-income models that we've seen?
So when you look at the other ones, right, like chat sales agencies,
Mhm.
personal brand agencies,
Yeah.
their gross margins tend to be lower, like 40 to 50%, and a lot more competitive.
Okay.
Ghostwriting is solid, but it's
Mhm.
very reliant on your ability to get clients
Right.
and write really, really well.
Right. Well, yeah.
Virtual assistant placement's gotten a lot more competitive in the last year.
Okay.
VR training, gamified learning,
Yeah.
very cool models,
Hmm.
very innovative.
Hmm.
But you need more specialized knowledge. There might be higher investment costs on the front end,
Right.
and then AI first SaaS businesses.
Yeah.
They have incredible margins, like 80 to 90%,
Wow.
but you need to be much more technical.
Okay.
And there's a much bigger upfront investment in terms of development.
Got it.
So I think the AI automation agency kind of hits this sweet spot of high growth potential, strong margins,
Yeah.
a clear market need,
Yeah.
without needing a ton of money up front or having to be super technical.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it kind of hits that sweet spot.
It really does, yeah.
High growth, potential, strong margins,
Yep.
clear market demand.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily need to have, a big pile of money to start
Exactly.
or super specialized skills,
Right.
at least not at the beginning.
Exactly.
Okay, let's say you're intrigued by this AI automation agency, or maybe one of these other models has caught your eye. What are the absolute first steps that you should be taking to kind of figure out, is this the right path for me?
So the first thing you need to do is validate your idea,
Okay.
right? You don't want to just jump into something without testing the waters.
Right.
So think about speed of validation. How quickly can you figure out if there's interest in this?
Okay.
Step number 1 is identify which of those 8 models, or even a specific niche within one of those models, really resonates with you,
Okay.
right? Look at your existing skills.
Yeah.
What are you good at?
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? And we've already talked about this, but do they have healthy gross margins?
Right. Make sure it's going to make money.
Make sure it's going to make money. Yeah.
Okay. So those are kind of like the initial, sort of interest and, okay, I think I could be good at this. I like this.
Yeah.
It has the potential to make money.
Yep.
What comes next in that initial validation phase?
So step 2 is you have to conduct some preliminary market research.
Yeah.
Right. And the big thing you're looking for is their demand for what you're thinking about offering.
Right.
So for a chat sales agency, you want to look at rapidly growing industries
Okay.
and see if there are businesses with large audiences who are struggling to really engage with their followers and turn them into customers.
Okay.
For a personal brand agency,
Hmm.
look for individuals, influencers, maybe even executives,
Yeah.
who could benefit from a more polished and impactful brand presence
Right.
with ghostwriting.
Yeah.
You want to look at, do people want to produce content but just need help with the actual writing itself?
Okay.
The key here is, are there pain points that people are experiencing that you can solve?
So identify a problem, basically, and then see, are other people having this problem?
Yeah, are other people having this problem? Exactly.
Okay, so that's number 2.
Right.
What's the crucial third initial step?
Step 3 is start to visualize how you would actually deliver the service, and can you pre-sell it?
Okay.
Let's just say gamified learning. The advice there is sell it before you build it.
Right.
So maybe you explore existing platforms you could customize,
Right.
and then an AI for SaaS business.
Yeah.
The key is to find a specific problem in a market that's not super saturated
Yeah.
that AI could solve.
Yeah.
And then could you create a basic prototype? Could you even just do a virtual demonstration
Right.
to try and get some initial sales?
Yeah.
And even if you're looking at service-based agencies, whether it's AI automation or ghostwriting,
Yeah.
you can start to outline your service packages,
Right.
how you would approach clients, how you would price things.
Yeah.
The key is to take some tangible steps to actually validate this idea.
Right. You have to move it beyond just an idea
Beyond an idea, yeah.
and start to visualize how it would actually work.
Exactly.
Okay. So you've got your idea.
Yeah.
You've seen some evidence that there's a need for it.
Yeah.
And you've started to think about, okay, how would I actually execute this?
Yeah.
Now, how do you actually fund this venture?
Right.
Especially if you're not sitting on, a big pile of money.
Yeah. I think that the big unlock here is that you don't need a ton of capital to get started.
Okay.
So there are ways to generate revenue without having to go to traditional routes like loans or outside investors.
Okay.
Pre-selling is a big one, and we touched on this with the gamified learning platform and the AI first SaaS concept.
Yeah.
But if you can get customers to commit to paying for your service or product before it's fully built,
Right.
that gives you working capital right away.
Absolutely. I mean, getting that early commitment from the people who are going to be your customers,
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Are there other ways to sort of bootstrap that initial funding?
absolutely.
Yeah.
For service-based businesses, aim to get paid upfront
Okay.
or on delivery.
Right.
So like for ghostwriting,
Yeah.
getting a big chunk of the payment upfront
Right.
helps your cash flow tremendously.
Uh-huh.
Or for virtual assistant placement.
Yeah.
The model is usually payment upon successful placement.
Okay.
So the big idea here is to choose models and strategies that allow you to generate revenue early on.
Okay.
Service-based businesses tend to have lower upfront capital requirements than if you're dealing with physical products
Yeah.
or having to build complex software.
Right.
So really the key is focus on revenue-generating activities right from the start.
Okay. You're starting to generate some revenue.
Yep.
Now you need to actually, build a team to actually fulfill these promises.
Yeah.
And scale your operations.
Right.
What are those essential roles that you should be thinking about filling in the early days?
So when you're building the initial team, you want to think about the core functions of any business.
Okay.
Sales and client acquisition is a big one.
Right. You got to bring the money in.
You got to bring the money in.
Yeah.
Then you need operations and service delivery.
Yeah.
Those are the people actually doing the work and making sure that the clients are happy. Then you need management and leadership
Yeah.
to keep everybody aligned
Yeah.
and moving towards the goals. Depending on the business model you choose, you might also need technical expertise or development skills,
Right.
especially if you're doing something in VR, gamified learning, or AI.
Yeah.
Customer support as you grow, that becomes really important
Okay.
because you need to keep those relationships strong.
Yeah.
And then don't forget about administrative and operational support,
Right.
the stuff that keeps the business running day to day.
Okay. Those all sound like foundational,
Yeah.
business roles.
Yeah.
But how do you actually find the right people to fill those roles?
Yeah.
Especially, when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't have a ton of money to throw around.
So I think number one is to define the roles and responsibilities clearly for each position.
Okay.
Everybody needs to know what they're accountable for.
Right.
Think about incentives.
Yeah.
So performance-based pay, especially for your sales roles.
Okay.
Don't underestimate the power of your network.
Yeah.
Ask for referrals.
Yeah.
Maybe you hire people on a fractional or contract basis.
Right.
Especially for those specialized skills that you might not need full-time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then look for people with relevant experience.
Yeah.
But more importantly, a growth mindset.
Okay.
They should be eager to learn and adapt.
Yeah.
Cultural fit is really important too.
Right.
Make sure that they're aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And in some cases, like virtual assistant placement, where you're offering guarantees to your clients, you need to make sure you're working with reliable talent.
Yeah.
I think the key is to figure out what are those crucial roles for your business.
Right.
And then be creative about where you can find the right people.
Okay, so you've got, your initial team.
Yeah.
Or at least a plan for one.
Right.
And you've got, some funding coming in, hopefully. What are some of the absolute must-have tools and technologies that can really help you to speed up your growth and operate efficiently?
I think the right tools can really supercharge your efficiency.
Yeah.
So for chat sales agencies, a CRM is essential.
Okay.
That helps you manage all of your conversations.
Right.
And there are even AI-powered features now that can help summarize chats and identify key insights.
Okay.
For personal brand agencies, social media management and analytics tools.
Yeah.
Those are crucial for tracking your impact and seeing what's resonating with your audience.
Right.
Project management software is a must for pretty much any agency model.
Yeah.
It keeps everything organized.
Yeah.
Virtual assistant placement, you're going to want a recruitment and applicant tracking system
Yeah.
to help you streamline your hiring process.
Makes sense.
VR training.
Yeah.
You need to look at VR development platforms, learning management systems, gamified learning. A lot of times you can actually leverage existing platforms
Okay.
to get up and running quickly.
Right.
E-commerce platforms
Yeah.
are essential if you're selling products directly. AI automation agencies, you need to be really good with different AI tools.
Right.
And automation platforms.
Yeah.
AI for SaaS businesses cloud infrastructure is going to be your best friend,
Okay.
as well as payment processing.
Yeah.
And I think across the board, No matter what model you choose, financial management software
Yeah.
and communication and collaboration tools,
Right.
those are non-negotiable.
Yeah, those are the essentials for any business.
They are. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of tools.
Yeah.
How do you keep from getting overwhelmed and just figure out which ones are right for you?
So the key is to do your research
Okay.
and figure out which tools solve the core operational needs of your business.
Right.
Don't try and implement everything at once.
Yeah.
Start with the essentials, the things that will help you automate key processes
Right.
and optimize your core workflows. So for example, if you're running a chat sales agency, having a CRM that integrates seamlessly with your social media channels,
Yeah.
that's a huge win.
Right.
If you're building an AI automation agency,
Yeah.
you need to become really proficient with different AI platforms and automation tools.
Right.
Think about the tasks that take up most of your time and look for tools that can help you automate or streamline those processes.
Okay, great. So you're experiencing some growth. Things are hopefully on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
What are some of those common pitfalls that entrepreneurs encounter when they start to scale their businesses?
So scaling is where a lot of businesses get tripped up.
Yeah.
And I think what the biggest pitfalls is losing focus
Okay.
and trying to do too many things at once.
Right. You're trying to grow in too many directions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you really need to make sure you're staying focused on your core business
Okay.
before you start spreading your resources too thin.
Okay. Focus.
This is number one.
What's another common mistake?
Poor financial management,
Okay.
not having clear reporting.
Yeah.
You need to understand your financials for each area of your business
Right.
so that you know what's actually profitable.
Yes. So focus and sound financial management, those are definitely critical.
Yeah.
What else can kind of trip people up when they're trying to scale?
Having a weak or undefined product or service strategy.
Okay.
So just launching more and more offers
Yeah.
without having a really clear, unique value proposition
Right.
for each one
Right.
can really confuse customers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So make sure you have a well thought out strategy and a very specific reason why each offer is valuable.
Okay.
Ineffective inventory management.
Okay.
That can also really hurt you, especially if you're dealing with physical products.
Right.
So you need to implement systems for inventory forecasting and management.
Yeah.
Team structure and incentives are really important as you grow. Because if your team isn't clear on their roles and they're not motivated,
Yeah.
performance is going to suffer.
Right.
And then finally, being slow to recognize and respond to issues and lacking agility,
Yeah.
that can be deadly for a business.
Right.
So you need to be able to identify problems quickly and adapt your strategy as you go.
So instead of just growing for the sake of growing, you
Exactly.
need to be strategic
Yeah.
and intentional about it.
Strategic and well managed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't just grow for the sake of growing.
So let's talk a little bit about finding those, those opportunities that a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
Are there niche markets within these 8 high-income models that you think look particularly promising?
Absolutely. Niches can be incredibly lucrative.
Yeah.
So let's just take chat sales agencies, for example.
Yeah.
Instead of targeting any fast-growing industry,
Right.
maybe you specialize in chat sales for sustainable products for environmentally conscious consumers.
Okay. Or you focus exclusively on a new social media platform.
Right.
Where direct-to-consumer chat sales are just taken off
Yeah.
for personal brand agencies.
Yeah. Okay.
You could niche down to working with professionals in a particular field like healthcare,
Right.
or focus on building personal brands specifically on LinkedIn
Oh.
for B2B networking.
Okay.
Ghostwriting, you could specialize in writing memoirs for entrepreneurs in the tech industry,
Yeah.
or really technical white papers for renewable energy companies.
Okay.
Virtual assistant placement could focus on placing VAs with very specific technical skills,
Right.
or those who have experience working with e-commerce businesses.
Okay.
So those are just a few examples of how you can refine your focus and target a very specific market.
Those are great examples of niching down.
Yeah.
What about some of the technology-driven models?
So for VR training, think about sectors like skilled trades.
Okay.
Maybe you become the go-to provider for VR safety training for a specific industry.
Right.
Or specialize in training people on how to operate specific types of equipment using VR.
Yeah.
Gamified learning could focus on training for roles in industries with high turnover rates,
Right.
or tackling really challenging subjects that people struggle to learn
Yeah.
and making those more engaging through gamification.
Okay.
AI automation agencies could specialize in automating a very specific business function,
Right.
like customer onboarding for SaaS companies using specific AI tools.
Okay.
And for AI first SaaS, the key is to find those less glamorous but essential industries
Yeah.
and figure out really specific problems that AI can solve effectively.
Okay.
So you might create hyper-specialized AI agents for niche professions within those industries.
So it's about going deep rather than going broad.
Exactly.
That's
The
it.
beauty of niching down is you become a sought-after expert with less competition.
Yeah, you really stand out from the crowd.
You do, yeah.
Okay, so each of these 8 models, what would you say are the absolute critical success factors? The negotiables for actually achieving that high income.
Every model has its own keys to success.
Okay.
So for an AI automation agency, you had to have a deep understanding of the different AI tools and what they can do.
Right.
Strong consulting skills.
Yeah.
So you can really assess the needs of your clients and recommend the right solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on delivering measurable improvements to the client's cash flow
Right.
and building strategic partnerships.
Okay.
Chat sales agencies need to be able to identify high-growth industries with existing demand and demonstrate tangible sales results.
Right.
Personal brand agencies need to be able to spot individuals with strong potential
Okay.
and structure their agreements so that everyone benefits from the growth.
Right.
Ghostwriting agencies have to be really good at securing upfront payments
Yeah.
and establishing themselves as experts in a specific niche.
Okay.
Virtual assistant placement relies on having a solid recruitment process
Mm.
and offering guarantees to build trust with your clients. VR training agencies need to be effective at selling high-value enterprise training packages
Yeah.
and providing ongoing support.
Right.
Gamified learning platforms need to validate their ideas early on
Yeah.
and target businesses with clear training needs.
Right.
And then the learning experience itself has to be engaging and effective.
Yeah.
And then finally, for an AI-first SaaS business, it's all about solving very specific problems
Right.
in less competitive industries
Mm-hmm.
with AI-powered solutions
Mm-hmm.
that deliver real value.
Okay, those are really helpful sort of targeted success factors
Yeah.
to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So let's kind of revisit the of funding through the lens of equity.
Okay.
Which of these 8 models are actually feasible to start if you have very limited resources
Yeah.
financially?
Generally, the service-based models with lower technological barriers to entry tend to be more accessible.
Okay.
So chat sales agencies,
Mm-hmm.
ghostwriting agencies if you've got the writing chops,
Right.
virtual assistant placement,
Mm-hmm.
gamified learning platforms if you leverage existing platforms initially.
Right.
Those typically require less upfront capital.
Okay.
AI automation agencies can also be relatively accessible
Yeah.
at the beginning because you can focus on the consulting side
Right.
and use a lot of the free AI tools that are out there.
Right.
Building a strong personal brand that might take more time and effort if you don't have an existing network.
Yeah.
And then VR training agencies and AI-first SaaS businesses, those are likely to require more upfront investment
Yeah.
because of the technology and development that's involved.